Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you. When judgment comes for you. Tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you. 'Cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see some for Charlie. Little boo for God's got him. And I'm gonna miss everybody out of roll and flow like I looked at a wild flag. And play for dust and they play too deep for beach side. Little legs I came to be. Told me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand way. You can't go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to heaven.
Back on Wrestling Network, welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results and happenings from Raw on 420 to Collision on 425. We'll open with Raw. We open with obviously a very long recap of what happened at WrestleMania nights 1 and 2. We then get Obafemi, who got a big victory over Brock Lesnar on night 2. He comes out, soaks in all the cheers, soaks in all the Oba chants, and obviously they cheer along with his entrance and all that kind of stuff. But he comes out and he basically just says the ruler has arrived, drops the mic, kind of hits his pose, and then gets out of there fairly quickly. We then go to Asuka. She says it didn't have to be this way with Io Sky. She says now it's time for revenge, with Kairi Sane not looking very happy about having to deal with this situation. So we'll come to learn later in the week that maybe she was worried about some other things, but she is not feeling good about going against her old friend Io Sky with Asuka here tonight. And it doesn't go well for them as Io Sky and Rhea Ripley defeat the Kabuki Warriors when Rhea hits Riptide, and then Io follows it with Over the Moonsault. They both hit on Kairi, and then Rhea gets the pin. After the match, Asuka yells at Kairi, but Kairi's kind of out of it after having taken Riptide and Over the Moonsault. So she was pretty out of it, and she would go on to be released later in the week. So this is the end of the Kabuki Warriors. Kind of out of nowhere. She's been pretty featured on TV. You would think they would have kept her around to maybe have some kind of payoff to this Asuka angle, but when it comes to these big, and there were a lot of people that got let go, but when it comes to these releases and stuff like that, it's real, it's real unclear because they don't really kind of go into it that much. It's real unclear of whether she was wanting to go or, they just let go of her because they wanted to make space for other people or, whatever you want to say. But she is no longer in WWE as of Thursday, I believe, is when all that happened. But this is the end of Io versus Asuka and Kairi. I'm assuming Asuka and Io will get that one-on-one blow-off match somewhere down the line. But Kairi is no longer in WWE after this episode of Raw. We then go to Adam Pearce. He congratulates Penta on retaining his championship in the ladder match at WrestleMania. Javon Evans comes in and says he wants a one-on-one title shot. Penta seems interested, but then walks away. Ethan Page, former NXT champion, comes in, says he is Raw's newest star, and doesn't think much of Javon. They obviously had a big feud in NXT when they were both there. And then Adam Pearce makes a match between the two of them for later tonight. We then have CM Punk. He comes out to cut a promo. He talks about how he lost his MMA trainer and his dog Larry in a very short span of time. Then it felt like every few weeks, someone behind the scenes in WWE, either past or present, was passing away. Those are the real heroes and the kind of people who make this place run the way it does. Then Punk lost his championship at WrestleMania, and it took away the anchor that kept him from falling apart over all of his personal losses. It's not quite the same, but he knows the people will help him get through it again. He was never supposed to be champion again, but he won it. He won it for 3 minutes, which was quite the cherry on the sundae. So, he's obviously implying that he didn't hold it very long, but he was able to win it in October, I think, and hold it all the way to WrestleMania. So he said, but he's implying that it felt like it was 3 minutes instead of however many months. So After that, he could have gone home to eat donuts and spend time with his hot wife, but then he stayed ready and got a number one contendership match. If he wasn't ready, you would be talking about. If he wasn't ready for that at that point, you would have been talking to Jey Uso right now, having lost his championship at WrestleMania. The thing is, he is still the best in the world, and he proved so last night. He gave it everything he had, but it wasn't his night last night. It was Roman Reigns. He's not going to go home, and you never know when a title match could fall out of the sky yet again. Cody Rhodes then comes out to interrupt. He's limping, and he obviously has a huge black eye because I don't know that they ever reported it if he had an orbital fracture or anything like that, but he has a pretty bad bruise on his face, and I think he was pretty roughed up after the match with Randy. Punk asked if he went over his time, but Cody Rhodes says no because this is Raw. Rhodes says this wasn't what he expected, with Punk asking if Cody expected him to freak out. Cody said yeah, and Punk said that's fair. Cody then brings up the idea of feeling like a loser, saying he feels like a loser because he looks like he got beaten from pillar to post, which he kind of did. And Punk kind of takes that the wrong way and seems to think that Rhodes says that Punk should feel like a loser, despite the fact that he doesn't. Punk praises Cody for what he did on Saturday, winning and retaining his championship. He says the path for Cody is to keep the championship, while Punk just has to stay ready because you never know when a championship opportunity is going to come. And he kind of gives a glare at the WWE Championship, obviously. Punk then leaves, and then Cody kind of catches him before he leaves the ring officially and says, "You just say when, and we can have that match." And Punk has a little smirk on his face as he officially walks away. We then go to Finn Balor. He says Dominic Mysterio brought it at WrestleMania, but the Demon put him down. He's not done with the Judgment Day, though, and tonight he will face JD McDonough. Balor remembers McDonough coming to his gym as a kid, and now McDonough has chosen Dom over him, so now it is time to take JD out. We then have the debuting Ethan Page, like I talked about earlier. He defeats Javon Evans via pinfall when Rusev comes out, distracts Evans a little bit, and this allows Page to hit him with a twisted grin and get the win. Rusev then comes in and beats down Evans, but Penta kind of tries to come out and get the save. Penta goes to the top rope, and Ethan Page actually comes back and knocks Penta off the top rope, and then Rusev puts him in the Accolade, and then he grabs the Intercontinental title and holds it high. And, Ethan Page kind of seems like he's saying some stuff to Rusev like they should work together and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see where that alliance goes going forward. We then get shown that Page and the Bella Twins have arrived, and they are here tonight. We then go to the Judgment Day. They could have, they're basically letting our lead Liv Morgan out to the ring so she can cut a promo. Liv gets some "You Deserve It" chants. She says that the chants are the smartest thing that any of these people have ever said, because she is the greatest women's world champion of all time. She thanks the Judgment Day for being her rock and promises to be even more trouble than she ever was before. Where we then get the debuting Sol Ruca. She comes out and says hello to Liv, and she comes out to tell Liv that she is an inspiration for her for the past few years. She knows Liv is the top woman in the division, but Sol says she is coming for her and her title. Liv doesn't sound scared, and they seem to kind of square up a little bit, but they don't get any shots in before Adam Pearce comes out, brings out a ref, and makes a match between Liv Morgan and Sol Ruca. Liv Morgan then defeats Sol Ruca via pinfall when Zarya from NXT comes out, takes out Sol, puts her back in the ring, and then Liv hits Oblivion and gets the pinfall. We then have Liv kind of leave. Stephanie Becerra then comes out, and the two of them kind of stare off in the entranceway, implying that their business is not done. So I would obviously think that they'll probably get a backlash match out of that one. Maybe give it a little bit more time because they got cut short because of fear of making the injuries they came in with get a little worse. So hopefully they'll be good and healthy by that point and can have a better match than they had originally. We then get a video for Brock Lesnar, kind of talking about his entire career when he came in, when he left, went to MMA, when he came back, and all the stuff he's accomplished since then. It was set to Godsmack's "I Stand Alone," so it took me back to 2003 for sure, 2002, because that had some nostalgia to it. When they get the Vision, they come out, talk about how much the opening of this show changed him, talking about Brock. He says, earlier today he heard CM Punk praising the production staff, but they still have Brock Lesnar in the now section of the opening part of the show. He needs to be moved to the forever section because no one will ever forget him, and that's where he belongs. He says, as for now, the Vision are your reigning tag team champions and are leading the renaissance of tag team wrestling in the company. Logan Paul then takes the mic. He cannot get a word out edgewise because the fans are just absolutely showering him with boos. He blames ISHO Speed for their loss and says Speed left WrestleMania with a piece of his fist in his face. Just like, and then they left WrestleMania with the title still on their shoulders and around their waist. Heyman says he's ready to talk to Gunther about repayment at any time. The real MVP of WrestleMania is this man right here, and he brings out Braun Breaker. Heyman is glad to have him back, but Breaker says that it's ironic that he became the leader of this group 1 year ago, implying he was the leader from the beginning in this very building. Breaker loved taking the win from Seth Rollins at WrestleMania and hopes Rollins is watching tonight because he's going to make Rollins, and then he kind of gets cut off because Rollins comes in with a chair from behind. He kind of starts to get beat down by the Vision, and the Street Profits make their return. And he comes out to make they come out to make the save, taking care of Paul and Theory. So Rollins and Breaker are kind of by themselves. Rollins cuts Breaker off with a super kick, and Breaker actually it must have been a pretty snug little kick because he does get a little bit busted open from that. He does recover pretty well. He avoids a stomp, hits a super spear. Breaker screams at Rollins for causing all of this, and then he hits him with yet another super spear. And Rollins is on the mat, out cold, to end the segment. We then have JD McDonough cut a promo on Finn Balor. He says they were supposed to be family, but Balor has changed. What about the guy who stood behind Balor for 20 years? What is Finn? How was Finn so quick to turn on him like that? So just kind of get his response to what Finn said earlier. We then have that match. Finn Balor defeats JD McDonough via pinfall following a coup de grace. After the match, Dom runs in to go after Finn, but gets knocked into the corner, and then JD kind of pulls him out before any further beatdown can happen. We then have Gunther. He says there's nothing with he and Heyman. He's not ready to collect on his favor yet. All that matters is he wants the world title back, and he wants it back now. But LA Knight comes in to say that he didn't need help winning at WrestleMania, and he would love to get in there with Gunther and prove that he is worthy of going after the World Heavyweight Championship. We then have Joe Hendry. They hype him up. He will have a concert for his debut next week, so he is up on the main roster as well on Raw. So Joe Hendry is going to perform one of his classic concerts next week on Raw. We then have Rhea and Io in the back. They officially say they're going their separate ways because Ripley obviously won the SmackDown the WWE Women's Championship, which is exclusive to SmackDown, so she is going to switch brands. Io then leaves, and Rhea starts to walk away, and she walks past Liv Morgan, who has been one of her greater rivals over the last few years. And Liv tells her to enjoy SmackDown, and Rhea says she's looking forward to it. We then have Roman Reigns. He arrives at the building, does his big long walk through the arena and through Gorilla. He meets the Usos in Gorilla position and invites them to come out with him. We go to commercial break. We come back. Reigns and the Usos are in the ring. Roman said that he was going to keep things simple by talking about the title in the future, but then he ran into his cousins. He says he misses how things went when they worked together and did business as a family. Jay has some Jay has some rapper mocking him, but he's the man who changed everything. We stop and we get a yeet chant before Reigns talks about how they ran things when they were together. He's not asking for them to serve him as like they did before, but to be his blood and stand with him at all times. Jimmy says he speaks for his brothers when he says they're the ones, and the Usos put up the ones. Obviously, Reigns then goes to do the same, but then Jacob Fatu comes out. Reigns says Fatu must acknowledge him, must be here to acknowledge him. Fatu says that's not why I came out here. So Reigns says it must be that Fatu wants the championship. Fatu doesn't want it because he needs it. He doesn't want to be the tribal chief, but he needs everything that the tribal chief has. He needs the shoe deal. He needs the private jets. He needs the Rolex, and to put his kids in better schools. At Backlash, which he says about 100 times. At Backlash, he says it about 500 times. He says he's leveling up his household, and Reigns will know that Fatu is all gas and no brakes. Reigns isn't sure about this because he doesn't know if Fatu is ready to be champion if he wins. He says he'll give him a week to think about it, and we'll talk about it next week and solidify when we will have this championship match. So a pretty, expedition, laden show on Raw here. Coming out of WrestleMania, obviously you're setting up new programs coming out of it. Not a ton of matches or anything like that, or not a ton of long matches per se throughout the show. But I thought the women's tag match between the Kabuki Warriors and Rhea and Io was the best match for the show. So we'll go from there to NXT. We open with Miles Bourne defeating Dion Lennox via pinfall when Lennox is shoved into Saquon Sugars when Dark State was trying to interfere. And then Miles hits the Bourne again to get the pinfall victory. We then get Blake Monroe. She is looking at her custom women's North American title that the Vanity Project gave her. The Vanity Project seemed to ignore her and her complaints. If she needs anything, though, she can text them. Saquon Sugars then comes to tell Robert Stone that Dark State needs one more chance, and then Stone tells him to come walk with him. We then get Shiloh Hill. He gives Tatum Paxley a pep talk before her big casket match for her North American Championship later on tonight. He's ready for Ricky Saint, and then he says he's ready for Ricky Saints next week as well. We then get Keanu Carver. He absolutely destroys Joe Hendry. He wins via ref stoppage when Carver just beats the absolute fire out of him with big strike after big strike and just kind of leaves him laying. So putting across the gimmick that he's just an ass kicker, badass, and that he is continuing to not be somebody to mess with, going after top talent already. So I would assume he's probably going to be one of your next championship contenders and stuff like that. So might be somebody that Tony D needs to look out for in the future. We then get hyped for a new women's superstar named Lizzie Rain. She is a heavy metal rocker type character, and she's going to debut next week. We then get our Speed Championship final. Alexis King defeats EK Prosper via pinfall when Birthright is able to distract Prosper, and King capitalizes, hitting the coronation, and Alexis King is your new Speed champion. We then get Jackson Drake. He is waiting for a date to show up when the rest of the Vanity Project comes in. They say apparently Drake got stood up, and they start to leave. We then have a woman come in and say she has heard about Drake getting stood up. I believe it was Bailey Humphrey that was in LFG. I think she was in both seasons, season 1 and 2. They don't name her per se. It's just kind of these little segments, which they pop back to it later. But if I remember correctly, I believe it was Bailey that had popped up on LFG. She ends up kind of talking to him and being her date, or being Jackson's date for the rest of the show, obviously. So we then go to Saquon Sugars. He tells Dark State that they are getting another shot at the North American title. Dion Lennox seems happy, but then Saquon says that it's him that is getting the shot next. We then look back at Zarya coming on Raw, and attacking Sol Ruca last night. We then have the casket match. Tatum Paxley wins, beating Blake Monroe. She hits a kind of rolling kick to the head. She does kind of a somersault into a kick to the head, and knocks Blake into the casket. And then Tatum is able to slam the door. And this will ultimately be Blake's final appearance on NXT, as she is moving to SmackDown. She didn't debut this week, but she's going to debut the week after. We then go back to Jackson Drake date. He's still sitting with Bayley. Apparently, she used to dissect horses with her bare hands. And she points out that the woman he was supposed to meet here was an AI bot. Shiloh Hill is blamed for this, and they leave together. And she slaps a man away, which Jackson thinks is a good thing. The rest of the Vanity Project come in and go with them. So more shenanigans that they'll surely get up to. We then have Lola Vice. She comes out to cut a promo. She talks about all the good things Jacy Jane did for the women's division, but it's now it's time for her moment. Last week, she saw a bunch of women coming after her to make their own moments. Lola is ready for them because she is a fighting champion and is ready for anyone and everyone. You don't just walk up to Vice City and come up to her, but all it's going to get you is knocked out and danced on. Izzy Dame comes out with the culling, with Dame saying that she is indeed a threat, but has Vice started to feel the change yet? The women are going to look at her differently and waiting on her, just like Dame is doing, or wanting to come after her, I should say. Vice is ready to fight, and the culling kind of distract her a little bit, allowing Izzy to boot Lola in the face. We then have Lexis King. He's happy with his title win. Dorian Van Dukes and the EK Prosper, who he beat earlier, come in to say that Lexis couldn't win on his own. Seems like we're going to get maybe a tag match between some Birthright members and Dukes and Prosper at some point. But Ariana Grace says they have a party to plan, so they leave after that. We then get another kind of profile piece on Kendall Gray. We got one of these last week. We get another one here. She was a successful amateur wrestler, including wrestling some boys in high school. She kept getting scars over the years, including taking a foul ball at a Yankees game. While she wanted to tell us everything about herself, she basically is here to say that she wants to be the next women's champion. We then have Robert Stone checks on Lola Vice, but we go to the background, and Ricky Saints had attacked Shiloh Hill. We then have Tony D'Angelo. He comes up to Robert Stone and has been sent a box with a character of some sort on it. Keanu Carver comes up, and D'Angelo thinks it was him that sent the box. Carver says no, because if he wanted the title, he would just come and take it. But he does tell us that the character on the box means war. So another box storyline here in WWE. So we'll see what that ends up being. And then we get our last woman standing match between Zarya and Sol Ruca. Zarya finally gets the win over Sol. Obviously this is kind of to write Sol off of NXT so she can be on Raw now. The finish of this match was kind of botched. There were two tables set up in front of the big balcony that's in the NXT arena that people cut promos off fairly frequently. They were fighting at the top of that. Zarya ends up shoving Sol off of it. Obviously, she was supposed to go through both tables. She kind of short shots the second table, kind of clips her head on the way down. So hopefully she's not hurt. Hopefully she didn't get too bad of a concussion or hurt her neck or anything like that when she fell. But just didn't get enough leap off of the balcony. And like I said, hopefully she's not hurt, because that would be a pretty big bummer that she just got called up and immediately has a concussion. So that would suck. But it was a really good match. It would be match of the night for me. I thought it was really well worked. They obviously, it was a very personal rivalry coming into this. And it was a good blow-off match. And I think anyone that enjoys wrestling should go out and check that one out, because I think you will enjoy that match without a doubt. We then go to Dynamite. We open with a quick look back at Darby Allin winning the world title last week. MJF comes out pissed off to start the show. He isn't. like the paper champion Darby Allin and demands respect. Last week was the Seattle screw job because he was 3 days removed from a war, Kenny Omega, which he won, of course. Then Darby hit him low to start the match. Darby can't beat him if the playing field is even. Kevin Knight then comes out to interrupt MJF. Knight says it's the same old MJF out here whining like a little bitch. He had MJF pinned a few weeks ago, so if anyone was screwed, it was him. MJF mocks what Kevin said, as well as thinking it's socially acceptable to be friends with Speedball Mike Bailey. It's so amusing to think that Knight is a star, but the TNT title suits him well, a title for someone with a ceiling. Knight threatens him with a slap and says some of the best in the world have held this title. So it's no wonder MJF never held it. We have he kind of challenges him to a match. MJF says Knight has talked him into a match, but only if he puts the TNT title on the line. He gets a referee to come out here. Bryce Remsburg comes out, holds up the title, but then MJF rolls out and says we can do it next week. So teasing us for the TNT title match, only to get some good heel heat, bailing before the match could actually start. We then have the demand. Them and Chris Jericho are in the back getting interviewed by Lexi. Ricochet mocks the idea of them having a 6-man tag match, as Jericho won't be able to find any partners. Jericho laughs, and he does show off his new shirt, which features the statement about regularly getting beaten up by the demand. So kind of he says that's his new gimmick, is he's constantly getting beat up by the demand, and he has a shirt that says it. Jericho will just have to find someone who doesn't like Ricochet. They don't have to necessarily like Jericho. They just have to hate Ricochet and the demand. So we'll see who he finds later on tonight. We then have Brody King defeat the annoying and ever just a pain in my ass Leo Rush with his weird fucking character that he has going on. But Brody beats him with a Gonzo bomb. After the match, Brody King kind of grabs the mic and says he wants the winner of the title match later on tonight. Speaking of the title match, we get a promo from Tommaso Ciampa. He says he has a father, a husband, and a son. Tonight is about proving that glass ceilings can be shattered, and no one has been more prepared for that than him. Darby Allin says he wants this, but Ciampa is the one that needs it. We then have Adam Copeland. He cuts a promo in the back, wants another tag team title shot against FTR, and they can even make it a street fight. If FTR wins, Cope and Cage will retire as a team. We then have Hikaru Shida defeat Mina Shirakawa via pinfall following a Falcon Arrow. We then get video for the Double or Nothing match that will happen between Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. We then look at the Death Riders. They help the Dogs attack the Rascals and the Young Bucks. This will result in a 10-man tag on Collision that will come on Saturday. We then have Mark Davis. He actually defeats Will Ospreay. We get another ref stoppage that's twice this week, with NXT having one and Dynamite having one here. But Mark Davis hits an absolutely devastating pile driver on the hardest part of the ring. And, Ospreay just kind of slumps to the floor after that. And so the ref stops it because he's seemingly out of it with his injured neck and all that kind of stuff. After the match, Davis seems to go for another pile driver, but the Death Riders actually come out and save Ospreay. Davis, they don't attack Davis, but Davis kind of sees all of them surrounding him, and he just kind of ends up just setting Ospreay back down. The Death Riders then grab Will Ospreay and kind of carry him out, and we'll see a conversation that they have with each other later. We then have Alex Windsor and Persephone. They want two of the members of the Triangle of Madness on Collision. They can pick. It's not necessarily the Sister of the Sin, but we'll see who they end up picking in the match. We then have these returning Samoa Joe. He didn't get much fanfare. They didn't make a big deal about this being his comeback or anything like that from injury. But Samoa Joe gets a squash match. He defeats Cody Chun via pinfall following a muscle buster. After the match, Hook meets him in the aisleway, and they kind of fist bump and dap up. And obviously, the Ops are back in business with their kind of leader being back. We then have a video on Darby Allin. It's kind of set to a classical song. It shows some of his, things that he's done throughout the years, him climbing Mount Everest, all the titles that he's won, his relationship with Sting. It kind of just goes over his whole career in AEW to this point. So kind of just a hype piece for him. We then get Chris Jericho. He has found his partners. It is going to be Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley of the Hurt Syndicate. We then have Darby Allin come out for a promo. He lays the title in the middle of the ring, looks at it, and talks about how his first match was right here in Portland. Everything could end as soon as Tommaso Ciampa comes out here. This title is for his beautiful fiance and the people, but here is MJF to interrupt. Darby Allin turns down a rematch request for MJF until MJF decides that he has something he's willing to put on the line. Darby Allin then says, "So get your ass out of my ring." And the only problem with that is he wasn't in the ring. So he basically is just telling him to get the hell out of here. We then get our main event, and Darby Allin retains his AEW World title, defeating Tommaso Ciampa. He gets the submission victory with the Scorpion Deathlock. I've complained about it in the past. This was a pretty weak, it was a pretty weak finish to a really awesome match. Dave Meltzer ends up giving this one 5 stars. So it was really great. I probably would go close to 5 stars on this one as well, but the finish kind of bothered me because he locks in the Scorpion Deathlock, and I know you're selling exhaustion and all that kind of stuff, but at a certain point, you've got to lock in the submission a little bit more convincingly, and it's just not a good move for Darby. Darby's not a big guy, and most people are larger than him, so it just doesn't look like a very convincing kind of move for him. So I really wish he would just stop using it or get a better handle on locking it in, because it just ends up looking weak most of the time. And he, like I said, he was selling exhaustion at certain points when he first locked it in, because it kind of falls apart and he ends up kind of on the mat and he's just wrenching on his legs and stuff like that. But definitely a really great match, best match of the show for sure. Definitely a match that anyone and everyone should check out. But I think it could have done with a better ending, for sure. We'll go from there to Impact. We open with Nick Nemeth defeating Bear Bronson after their confrontation last week. Nemeth wins the match via pinfall following a super kick and a danger zone. We then go back to Rich Swann. He's with BDE. He is very excited for his world title main event tonight and wants to do this alone. He doesn't want BDE's help, and BDE seems okay with the idea and wishes Rich luck. We then are supposed to have a concert with Elijah, but Frankie Kazarian comes out wearing a fake beard, acting like he's Elijah. He says he has a bad case of the blues because he can't beat Frankie. He has written a song called Kaz Is My Daddy. This brings out the real Elijah, obviously. Elijah chokes him with a guitar strap, and this actually sets up and announces that they are going to have a guitar strap match. Elijah then sings about how horrible Kazarian is to kind of end the segment. We have EC3 in the back. He has a chair, and he is ready to end Eric Young. So obviously that rivalry will continue after Eric seemingly took him out with a chair last week. We then have Tessa Blanchard, Victoria Crawford, and Mila Moore. They are back from the Undead Realm. And next week they are fighting Rosemary, Allie, and Mara Sade. And they said they already fought them in their world. So now the Undead Realm crew can fight them in theirs. We then have Dutch. He defeats Matt Hardy via pinfall when Vincent comes in and shoves Matt off the top rope. This allows Dutch to hit Death Walks, and that gets him a win. Death Walks is basically like a black hole slam. After the match, Vincent sits in a chair as Dutch beats on Matt, and then Jeff Hardy comes in to make the save. We then have the Elegance brand. They have Mr. Elegant show off his physique to convince Daria Ray to give him a match next week. She seems very perturbed by the whole situation and just agrees to give him a match. And then they leave, and she seems like she's just doesn't have any idea what just happened. We then have Lei Ying Li. She comes out to the ring. She apologizes for her English not being the best. She says she loves her friends and she loves TNA and doesn't know why Zaya Brookside did what she did. Zaya then comes out to say that they aren't friends because if they were, they would have stood together at Rebellion. and not have Zaya be in her corner. Lee is in tears as Brookside says she has the pressure of being a second-generation star and being all alone. Lee talks about being alone out here, and then she met Zaya and tried to help her. She apologizes to Brookside and promises to be right by her side no matter what. Brookside says she made a mistake and that Lee has been by her side this whole time. She knows that Lee will be champion again, and they make up with a big hug. We then have the classic, they're hugging, and we get Zaya's face. She glares at the camera and obviously lays her out and beats her down. So they did not make up. They're done. They're not going to be friends, and we will get a match between the two of them somewhere down the line. We then have Elena Black defeat Katie Arquette, who apparently is related to David Arquette. I kind of saw that name in the results before I kind of even watched the show the other night, and I was like, I wonder if she's related, kind of jokingly. Apparently she really is related to him. But Elena beats her via pinfall following the blackout. We then have Mustafa Ali with Order 4. He welcomes us to the International Title Summit, where a random country is selected to have a representative get a title shot. The lucky country tonight is Australia. They actually joked that they thought it was New Zealand at first, but it ends up being Australia. And Chris Brooks is the candidate from Australia that is going to get the shot. He's thankful for a chance, and he even calls Ali bloke, and Ali doesn't quite understand anything that he says because of his accent. We then get Bear Bronson. He's pissed that he lost earlier tonight. Cedric Alexander still wants the X Division title, and Leon Slater. And Eddie Edwards says the system will fix any and all of this that has happened to them. We then get our main event, which actually ends up being a really good title match. Mike Santana defeats Rich Swann via pinfall following the spin the block, and they shake hands and kind of hug after the match to end the show. So definitely check this one out. Probably one of the better matches on Impact TV-wise in a while. So you usually don't get world title matches per se on Impact. But this one actually ended up being really, really good. So check it out. We then go to SmackDown. We get the long WrestleMania recap once again. We have Danhausen actually arrive in the Danhausen mobile backstage. Trick Williams and Lil Yachty had actually showed up right before that, and he ends up kind of scaring them off, driving the Danhausen mobile like a madman. We then have Jacob Fatu. He comes out to get things going. He talks about how he told Roman Reigns how much he needed the world title, with Roman saying that Fatu isn't ready. That's what he's heard his whole life, but Reigns needs to get in the ring with him and prove it. The Usos then come out to interrupt, with Jimmy liking the idea that Fatu wants to make his family better. Fatu can do all that by beating Cody Rhodes, who is already banged up. Run the play with the family. These people out here aren't going to help him make it happen, so don't listen to them. Jay, on the other hand, says it's gone too far already, and Fatu is going to have to face Roman. Solo Sikoa and MFTs then come out with Sikoa saying that he brought Fatu to WWE. He says, what did the Usos ever teach him? How to yeet? Fatu is going to need an army to beat Reigns, and that's what Sikoa has. But Tama Tonga grabs the mic. He asks, why are they wasting time on a lost cause like Jacob? Tama even says, you think he's going to beat Roman? He can't even beat you, Solo. Fatu then super kicks Tama for saying this, who is held back as Fatu wants to talk to Reigns. That's going to have to wait till Monday, obviously. He says, but tonight, Solo, you'll do, and I'll face you later on tonight. We then have Julia. She cuts a promo talking about knowing that there's pressure to defend her title tonight against Tiffany. She kind of bitches at Kiana for kind of getting her in this situation. But Kiana says she doesn't like the questions that Kathy is kind of throwing towards them. It's either Kathy or Jackie. I can't remember which interviewer was here. But Julia kind of says she's felt pressure before, but she's also faced Tiffany before, and she's beaten her with what she thought was ease. So she'll do the same tonight. She does not do the same tonight, as Tiffany Stratton defeats Julia via pinfall following a Alabama slam and a prettiest moonsault ever. And Tiffany Stratton is your new Women's United States champion. We then look back at Danhausen and the Mini Housens attacking Kit Wilson and at Miz at WrestleMania. And John Cena even says out loud, "I got out of this stuff just in the right time," implying that he wouldn't have to deal with Danhausen. We then go to earlier this week, and Danhausen actually snuck into the Miz's house and then vanished inside of it and ends up in the Miz's pool. The Miz insisted that there was no curse, and then wound up. He kind of charges at Danhausen and ends up flying into the pool in his whole outfit that he has on. We then look back at Paige and Brie Bella winning the women's tag team titles at WrestleMania. We have Tiffany still in the entranceway. She's getting interviewed. She says she's she's happy to not be the runner-up finally. She was the runner-up at the Royal Rumble as well as the runner-up at Elimination Chamber. So she finally won the Women's United States Championship, and she's back to being a champion. But kind of in the middle of the interview, Brie Bella and Paige come out. Stratton then leaves. The other two go to the ring. Brie talks about how great it is to be here as champion. And while she would love to be there with her sister, Nikki, she is here with somebody that she also considers a sister, and that is Paige. Paige yells, "I'm back," obviously gets a big pop. She says, "It's been a long road to get back here, but this, being SmackDown, is her house." They aren't going anywhere, and then Charlotte and Alexa Bliss come out, and Charlotte and Alexa reluctantly kind of welcome Paige back and congratulate the champs, but then they get right into a challenge. So then we get a referee to come out. Paige and Brie actually win the match, but it's via DQ because JC Jane and Fatal Influence debut from NXT, and they attack Paige from behind at first, kind of throw her into the steps, which draws the disqualification. Like I said, Fallon, Henley, and Laney Reed then come out to kind of join JC, and they beat down the rest of them and leave all of the competitors in the match playing. This is not the last time we'll see Fatal Influence tonight either. We look back at Cody Rhodes retaining, but we then also see that Orton kind of laid him out and punted him after things kind of broke down. We get a look back at Royce Keys talking about where he came from, the town that he came from, and they kind of talk to some local citizens and people that grew up with Royce and talk all about him and stuff like that and all that he came through. We then go back out to the ring. Cody Rhodes comes out. He still has the black eye, obviously. Cody talks about leaving the stadium at WrestleMania because that's what he was supposed to do as champion. He wanted to leave through the entrance because he wanted to send a message that he wasn't done. It was a message to Randy Orton because he wasn't done after the punt. It was a message to Sami Zayn, who called him the Golden Boy and nothing bad ever happens to him. And it was a message for those outside forces who want to take him out because you are 0-3, so mind your own damn business. It is SmackDown. It is the SmackDown after WrestleMania, and he is easy to find, but he is going to be hard to beat. We then have Solo Sikoa. He sends the two of the members of the MFTs out to get the tag team titles back, and he says he'll take care of Jacob Fatu later on tonight. We then have those two MFT competitors, that's Tama Tonga and JC Mateo. They end up taking the loss to Damian Priest and R-Truth when they hit the assisted flatliner on JC Mateo and retain the tag titles. We go back to the Miz's house. Miz gets out of the pool. Danhausen is playing on the Miz's golf simulator and accidentally swings the club back as Miz comes to kind of jump him and hits him low. He then steals and breaks one of Miz's slammies and has some chocolate on the way out of the house. Danhausen then opens the door, sees Maurice, and then he ducks as Miz accidentally throws some kind of powder all over her. I guess it's supposed to be chocolate, some kind of chocolate powder. But he kind of throws that on Maurice, and she's covered in it. Danhausen then is able to escape, and he drives away on one of the Miz's daughter's bicycles to kind of escape. So just some more Danhausen hilarity. So pretty good stuff. We then have Trick Williams. He is with Little Yachty. And once again, the person in the gingerbread man costume for his U.S. title celebration. We then have the fans seem pretty happy to see Trick and obviously chant for him and stuff like that. Lil Yachty says he is here to stay. Trick makes it clear that he is not doing the U.S. title open challenge anymore. And then they get some more celebrating in, and the gingerbread man has a gingerbread or has a candy cane, kind of a plastic candy cane, and he ends up hitting Trick Williams with it. It ends up being Sami Zayn. Obviously, he ends up hitting Lil Yachty with the cane as well. He delivers the haluva kick and does a little bit of dancing, and he actually gets booed pretty loud out of the situation. We then get Royce Keys. He is happy with winning the Andre Battle Royal last week, but he's just getting started. Solo Sikoa comes in, says it was a good win. He says the big man isn't too happy with him, though, right now, but he does again offer a spot in the MFTs, as they've obviously been boys in the past. And Sikoa kind of leaves before he gets an answer, but he does offer him a spot on the MFTs. We then get tail of the tape for Miz versus Danhausen. That'll happen next. We get some special stats. Danhausen has a curse success rate of 100%. It says he is a personal friend of John Cena, and he has very, very strong merchandise sales. We then get the Miz's. He has active curse status. His last win is under review, and he has never been on a blimp, unlike Danhausen, who was on a blimp at WrestleMania. We then have Danhausen defeat the Miz via pinfall. He has some fireworks go off when he kind of does the point. They kind of blow up in Kit and Miz's face, and he catches Miz with like a schoolboy roll-up to get the win. After the match, Danhausen tries to do the flash paper explosion to kind of hide him escaping, but he doesn't move. And Miz is kind of just there waiting on him. Miz then tries to chase him around the outside. Miz runs into Kit, and Danhausen is able to hop in the Danhausen mobile and get out of there before getting beaten up. We then get a video saying that Blake Monroe is coming. She's going to debut next week on SmackDown. We then have Rhea Ripley come out to cut a promo. She is champion again, and she's a fighting champion. So let's do an open challenge. Fatal Influence, like I said earlier, comes out again. The fans don't want to hear from JC Jane. They boo her pretty strongly. She welcomes the boo because she loves it, and goes on to introduce the team, each member. Rhea Ripley says the attack earlier was impressive, but stop while you're ahead. Fallon threatens Rhea, who says, take your shot. JC Jane says they're always ready to throw hands, so Nick Aldis comes out and makes Rhea Ripley versus JC Jane for right now. We then have Rhea Ripley defeat JC Jane, but it's via DQ. She's kind of loading up the Riptide, and as she's doing that, Laney and Fallon then come in and jump Rhea to draw the disqualification, and then after the match, Fatal Influence beats her down and leaves her away. We then look at Roman and Jacob's interaction on Raw. The Usos tell Jacob Fatu in the backstage that they have his back in the main event. Fatu doesn't want their help, which Jay doesn't seem to see as too much of a surprise, and doesn't seem like he really wants to help Jacob in the first place. We then have Charlotte and Alexa there in the trainer's room when Rhea Ripley comes in to get some treatment as well. Rhea and Charlotte have a bit of a stare down. Charlotte says she doesn't like JC Jane, and she'll take care of her next week, since obviously Rhea wasn't able to do tonight. We then get the Brock Lesnar tribute video once again. We also get informed that Ricky Saints will be debuting on SmackDown next week, so another new member of the roster. We then get our main event, and Jacob Fatu is able to defeat Solo Sikoa. He wins via pinfall following the triple jump moonsault. After the match, the MFTs run in to beat Fatu down, so the Usos come to the ring, only for Fatu to beat the MFTs down on his own. Fatu hits a running hip attack into chairs in the corners and puts Tongaloa through the announce table. And then back in, Fatu glares at the Usos, grabs the mic, and says he'll see Roman on Monday to kind of end the show. So solid ending to SmackDown. Not a bad match, but I would go with Tiffany and Julia as the best match. I won't say it was, just an all-timer throughout, but it did have a pretty hot finish. Tiffany and Julia did. So I would say that would be match of the night. And then we'll end the week on Collision. The Conglomeration are going to be on our opener, and they seem ready to go, but FTR and Stokely actually interrupt them and kind of blow by them and say they have something to say to Cope and Cage. FTR and Stokely then come out to say what they have to say. They get right to the point by accepting Cope and Cage's challenge for Double or Nothing, but they want this to be definitive. It can be a street fight, but they want it to be an I Quit match. So the nostalgia run can end for good. And he says the ball is in Cage and Cope's court. Oh my goodness. So I Quit, kind of street fight kind of match between FTR and Cope and Cage. We'll see if they accept. We then have the conglomeration of O'Reilly, Strong, and Orange Cassidy defeat the Don Callis family of Andrade, Lance Archer, and Hechicero when Kyle and Orange hit the high-low on Archer. We then go to After Dynamite. The Death Riders sat down with Will Ospreay, with Marina kind of massaging him and kind of wrenching at his neck to help fix it. John Moxley asks what Ospreay is trying to do. They met 7 years ago, and at some point, Ospreay needs to realize that his body will break down if he continues at the pace that he goes. There is a door he can walk through, and they could settle up with Moxley sliding him a chair. Moxley says Ospreay can be anything he wants to be or be like everyone else. With that, Moxley lays face down on the floor, and Ospreay picks up the chair, and he shoves the camera away so we don't know whether anything happened or not. We then go to the Death Riders, and Mox comes out seemingly unscathed, so nothing does happen, apparently. He is not in the match. He's on commentary, but his Death Rider compatriots, Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, and Claudio Castagnoli, they join the War Dogs of David Finlay and Clark Connors. They defeat the Rascals of Wentz, Xavier, and Reed, and they team with the Young Bucks. So the Death Riders and the War Dogs beat the Rascals and the Young Bucks when Connors hits a top rope spear on Wentz to get the win. We then get Mina Shirakawa and Harley Cameron. They want Hikaru Shida to apologize for what she said. But Hikaru Shida stands by what she said, that Harley Cameron will never be on the level of the rest of them. And then they kind of argue and get catty after that. We then have Chris Statlander. She defeats Becca via pinfall with the Saturday Night Fever. Hikaru Shida comes to kind of hype her up after the match because they're obviously tag team partners. But Stat kind of just walks right past her. We then have Megan Bain and Lena Cross say that they are ready to face Statlander and Shida because they seem to be the number one contenders for the tag team titles. We then get Roosh defeating Adam Priest via pinfall following the horns. Konosuke Takeshita says he is ready to face Kazuchika Okada at Double or Nothing. And Okada kind of answers and says the exact same thing, that he is also ready to end this with Takeshita. We then get the Triangle of Madness. It is Tekla and Sky Blue. They defeat Alex Windsor and Persephone when Julia Hart comes out and hits or sprays the mist in Persephone's face, and then Sky Blue hits the Code Blue to get the win. We then look at MJF and Kevin Knight's kind of confrontation on Dynamite and kind of the setup for their TNT Championship match that will happen on next week's Dynamite. We then have Jack Perry and El Clone. They have a match. Jack Perry retains his national championship via pinfall following a running knee. Willow Nightingale once again kind of cuts a promo saying she wants new competition. She doesn't want the same old coming after her. She wants some new blood to come after her. We then get Anthony Bowens. He confronts Samoa Joe and Hook in the back to see if he has any ops or not. Samoa Joe actually welcomes him as the newest member. So we finally do have a new three-man group. I guess Shibata is hurt, so he's kind of out right now. But it seems that Bowens is officially in the ops with Samoa Joe and Hook. So we'll see what they can kind of get into going forward. And then we have our main event where the Demand defeats Chris Jericho and the Hurt Syndicate when Ricochet once again hits the Rico Salt on Jericho to get the win. So again, another pinfall victory over Jericho. You would have thought in a 6-man situation like this, he may have gotten a win back, but he's taking pinfalls and he continues to get beat up by the Demand. So living the gimmick, I guess. So, but as far as best match, the 10-man between the Death Riders and the War Dogs versus the Rascals and the Bucks was real chaotic, and another good example of them putting together a pretty good formula for these tags with a lot of guys in them. So really good stuff there. That's episode 100. Thank you to everyone who has listened to all 100 episodes to this point. Obviously, it would have been interesting to make last week's episode number 100, with it being WrestleMania week and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, it fell how it fell. But a pretty solid week of wrestling nonetheless. Like I kind of said earlier, obviously the first week got a WrestleMania for WWE, so it's really just starting to set up new feuds and stuff like that heading into Backlash out of WrestleMania. So we'll continue to see how they kind of build towards that. We'll see how AEW continues to build towards Double or Nothing. So we shall see how things go. Thank you for joining me, like I said again. We will see you next week.